well.
Hercule Poirot is, for me, much more than the character on the written page. Hercule Poirot, for me, almost is a real person.
You're a detective.
I am the detective, Colonel Curtis.
He is the person who was responsible for my life for 25 years.
The truth, it has the habit of revealing itself.
I've got to know him. I've lived him.
No one can always be right.
But I am. Always I am right. It is so invariable, it startles me.
He's my invisible, closest and best friend.
They have been good days.
Agatha Christie's Poirot premiered on television in 1989.
Voila. Is there nothing to which Hercule Poirot cannot turn his finger?
A quarter of a century and 13 series later, it's a global phenomenon watched by 700 million viewers in 100 countries worldwide. It's 6 in the morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Sean, my driver, is taking me to work. I'm heading to Pinewood Studios to film the last series of Poirot. This will be one of the hardest days of my acting life, because today, Poirot will die.
I say, old chap, you're looking pretty awful. Don't you think I should call a doctor?
Oh, what good would that do? No, mon ami. What will be, will be.
Getting into character is a very detailed process for me, beginning from the moment I'm dressed and I get into the car with Sean driving me, because at that point, I'm learning lines. But then I go to makeup, and then the serious business of the day begins for me.
David is a method actor. He dieted for probably about 9 months to lose, I think, about 2 stone.
I'm all right, it's got a little block.
Whereas in all the other films, he looks like a robust little man. In Curtain, he looks like a little sack of bones in a suit.
But it'd be good if it helps him look really, really ill.
Agatha Christie does the most extraordinary thing. It's the only story in which you see Poirot as a little old man. And it's told through the eyes of Captain Hastings.
Hastings?
The key to it for me is that moustache. Once that moustache goes on that lip, I think it's true to say that you will be speaking to Hercule Poirot.
Make sure that it does not droop a little here.
Yes.
Yes, that is better.
Curtain, Poirot's last case, was written by Agatha Christie in 1942. Intended for publication after her death, it was hidden in a bank vault for 30 years before publication in 1975.
He knows he has to die.
Yes.
He could never take the ignominy of being accused of a murder and then hung.
We all knew that the final scenes were coming up, and we, in a sense, prepared. But it was nevertheless a most remarkable atmosphere. Huge soundstage at Pinewood, with a set built in the centre of it. The room itself, which contained a bed and walls in which he was going to die, was not crowded. It was deliberately kept quiet.
Sterling?
And now, I need to think. But Poirot? Go down to breakfast, mon ami. The case, it is ended.
And outside, the set itself, the rest of the crew, was exceptionally quiet. Sheila, David's wife, was sitting beside the sound man.
To film it was one of the most extraordinary experiences, to have, or to play, a man who dies.
Forgive me. Forgive.
Hey, Cameron. 388 1 every calendar.
It's a difficult day. It's difficult. Because he feels the character very deeply. I think every time he shoots it, it's going to take more out of him. Yes.
For a character actor of his intensity, to lose someone he's been completely involved and absorbed in for 25 years is a personal tragedy.
Terrible. It was awful. I'll never forget it. The hardest moment of filming.
What a day, what a moment.
When Curtain was published, such was the sensation of the news of Poirot's death that it made the front page of the New York Times. It showed the extraordinary impact of a strange little character who for many had seemed like a real person. Hercule Poirot has been the most important role in my acting career. You might think you know Poirot, but I'd like to show you what goes on inside those little grecelles. Along the way, we'll find out why this remarkable little man is so loved around the world. To begin to understand Poirot, we need to go back to the beginning. I am on my way to the seaside town of Torquay and remembering a visit I made 25 years ago.
He said to me, I've been offered the role of Poirot. He said, what do you think? I said, well, I should take it. I wouldn't hesitate. I said, the only piece of advice I give you is it's going to change your life. And he said, oh, don't be so silly. I said, well, it will.
So, this is a very special place. Agatha Christie's house.
Greenway was Agatha Christie's summer home from 1938 until her death in 1976. Soon after I was cast as Hercule Poirot, I was invited here to meet her daughter. I remember one particular lunch I had with Agatha Christie's daughter, Rosalind, and her husband, Anthony Hicks. And they said to me, we want the audience to be able to smile with Poirot, but never laugh at him. And that's why you have been chosen to play the role. Getting the approval of Agatha Christie's family was crucial for me before my life as Poirot began. Today, I've come back to meet her grandson, Matthew Pritchard.
Here we are in Devonshire, where Poirot was actually born.
How do you think he came to be?
Well, of course, that was long before my time.
Yes.
But I'm told that a bus drew up in Union Square in Torquay, and out of it trooped a whole busload of Belgian refugees, one of whom was a little man who, surprisingly enough, David, looked a bit like you.
Do you fancy a pint of beer, if there's any left?
No, merci. I cannot yet bring myself to enjoy the English public house.
My grandmother must have seen him, and she must have thought, well, there's my detective.
Poirot was introduced to the world in 1920 as a World War I Belgian refugee in Agatha Christie's first book, The Mysterious Affair at Styles. Poirot was an extraordinary-looking little man. He was hardly more than 5 feet 4 inches, but carried himself with great dignity. The neatness of his attire was almost incredible.
Ah, voilà.
As a detective, his flair had been extraordinary, and he had achieved triumphs by unraveling some of the most baffling cases of the day.
The handwriting on this letter shouts your guilt. You are a heartless murderer.
Agatha Christie could never have guessed that Poirot would become so famous, appearing in over 50 short stories and 33 novels. Oh, look. Now, is this a real one that she used?
That is a real one. She would have taken this to the Middle East. She would have hammered out Death on the Nile, somewhere near the pyramids in Egypt.
Really?
On something like that.
On something like that. The more I know about Agatha, the more I learn about her, that she was such a warm, generous, lovely person. I just hope she would have liked what I did, that's all. She was very honest. Very candid indeed.
Today, Agatha Christie is revered in Torquay, so I can't visit here without loaning something very special to the museum.
Oh, I didn't believe it. I knew some things were coming here, but I didn't know what it was, and it's my flat. My flat. It's Poirot's flat. Look, my desk. Hello, Cole.
Hello, David.
Hello, it's nice to see you. Hello,
lovely
Amy.
to see you as well.
Very nice to see you. La la.
Oh. Fantastic.
Take it out.
That's absolutely beautiful.
This is actually my prized possession. I think I've probably held that more than any other thing I've ever held in my life.
That is absolutely incredible. It's still warm as well.
It is still.
But there's another reason we're here. I'm meeting John Curran, an archivist who has found clues about Poirot's creation in Agatha Christie's secret diaries.
And there, look, Hercule Poirot,
yes,
written by Agatha Christie.
So you can see here the mysterious affair at Styles. The plot was roughed out, and then came her dilemma, a detective story. Now, what kind of a detective?
Mm-hmm.
So she says, why not have a Belgian refugee? Because the refugees were in most countries at that stage.
You're not selling onions, are you?
Pardon?
Your people come over here doing that a lot.
What kind of man should you be? A little man with a somewhat grandiloquent name.
Poirot, Monsieur Hercule Poirot.
Poirot. Could never get my tongue around French.
But I am Belgian, Monsieur, not French.
Like many small, dandified men, he would be conceited, and he would, of course, have a handsome moustache.
Yes, I think the moment is ripe for the trimming of the moustache, also the pomading.
And what about Agatha's own relationship to the man himself?
Well, that became a bit fraught as the years went on. And she says here, why did I ever invent this detestable, bombastic, tiresome little creature?
I must be right, because I am never wrong.
Eternally straightening things, forever boasting, always twirling his moustaches and tilting his egg-shaped head. And then she adds, and I think this is quite funny, anyway, what is an egg-shaped head? Have I ever seen an egg-shaped head? When people say to me, Agatha said this.
It's an egg-shaped head. But you see, all of those things that irritated her, the public adored.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
And I'm here to be witness to the egg-shaped head.
In 1920, Agatha Christie put Poirot on the page. Soon, he was to become a star of stage and screen.
Good evening, everybody. This is Hercule Poirot.
In the Roaring '20s, Agatha Christie's new detective, Hercule Poirot, was hugely popular. After only 4 books, he was set to appear on the London stage.
I wish I could get into Doctor Who's TARDIS and go back to sitting in a London theatre in 1928 and witnessing for the very first time that the character of Hercule Poirot came to life, performed by Charles Laughton, one of the greatest actors that we had in those days, performing in a play called Alibi, which was an adaptation of the glorious novel, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. It was just like the detective of the novel walking into the room. The actor's makeup is perfect, the attitude, the way of holding his head. I have seen Poirot tonight. Poirot himself actually appears on stage as himself in the novel and the film we made called 3-Act Tragedy.
I was certain that the person who murdered the Reverend Stephen Babington and Dr. Bartholomew Strange must have been present on both occasions, but not apparently so.
And in every novel, she gives him his great, what we call the summing up, where he goes through all the people in the room, making them feel guilty for a crime they never committed, and pointing his finger at the guilty party. It's his moment of theatre.
God damn you. What have you done?
What have I done? It is you who have deceived me.
Oh, yes, I think Poirot, if he wasn't a detective, I think he could have easily been a wonderful actor.
In 1931, 3 years after Poirot first appeared on stage, Alibi was filmed for the cinema with a new Poirot. Sadly, this film is now lost, but other screen portrayals have survived.
Oh, wow. Isn't this fantastic? So, lights, camera, action.
The oldest surviving Poirot film is Lord Edgware Dies from 1934, starring British actor Austin Trevor.
The moustache for Poirot is such an important part of his character. And it was obviously a conscious decision by the film company not to have him with a moustache.
You mean to tell me that you think that she committed all these murders? That she...
I do not think, my friend. I know she did. Every one of them.
The accent is, well, you can hear it's English, trying to be French. But then that was the style then.
Madame, you tried to pull the wool over the eyes of Hercule Poirot.
And I'm hanged if we can have that.
I remember watching Murder on the Orient Express as part of my research when developing the character.
A repulsive murderer has himself been repulsively and perhaps deservedly murdered.
In the public's mind, Albert Finney was the Poirot. When that film came out, Poirot came alive for the public as he had never done before. Great film, Death on the Nile, and I've always thought that Peter Ustinov was just on the edge of becoming a really great Poirot.
I am the nasty little eavesdropper, madame.
25 years ago, I went back to Agatha Christie's novels to find her Poirot.
I got a file of paper, a pen, and I started reading every single story. But I've never seen this little creation of Hercule Poirot portrayed as he was written in the book. So I wrote a list of 93 little notes about his character.
Eh bien, tell me all that you have discovered.
What's the first one? Belgian, not French. Has 4 lumps of sugar in tea or coffee, sometimes 3, and once or twice 5. Order and method are his gods. In the little gray cells of the brain lies the solution of every mystery. Always wears a hat when going out in the evening air. Will wipe dirty seats or benches with his handkerchief before sitting down.
I had found his idiosyncrasies. Now I had to build his character.
I shut my eyes and I think. One must always seek the truth from within.
For me, it's the voice. Poirot is not really connected with his emotions. He's connected with his head. And therefore, I decided to give him a head sound. So, I could be talking to you as David Suchet. My voice is coming up from my emotions. Now it is in my mouth, and now it is going higher, higher in my brain, and I will put on his Belgian-French accent, and then I will speak as Hercule Poirot.
Chief Inspector, you really ought to look to your elocution.
Swipe me, there's nothing wrong with my lingo.
But something was still missing. I went back to the books and found the final piece of the jigsaw, his walk.
Poirot crossed the lawn with his usual rapid, mincing gait within his patent leather boots. Having found that, of course, I then had to learn how to do it. And that's the walk that became synonymous with my Poirot.
Whitehaven Mansions, if you please.
The same level of care went into the whole look of the television series. Here, in London's Charterhouse Square, the production team found the exterior location for Poirot's home.
I really do love coming here. This is, of course, where Poirot lived. The name of the block in the book is Whitehaven Mansions, and He chose this particular block of flats, not because of its location or anything, but because it's symmetrical. And that, for Poirot, was la crème de la crème.
I've come here to meet Poirot's first producer.
David, how wonderful to see you.
Brian Eastman.
Well, this is so strange because I don't know whether I'm coming back into one of our sets or the real place. And of course, this is the real place. But
the set was based on it, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was based on... But it was a decision, wasn't it, to have everything set in the 30s?
Yes, because she wrote the Poirot novels over a period of about 60 years. And I felt that it was very important for a television show that we should be rooted in one particular era. And in the end, I thought, well, I'm actually going to root them all in one particular year.
Yes.
Dress them like 1936.
Of course, this isn't our flat in the set. I mean, this is the real flat in this building. We used the outside of one of these flats. Which one was it there?
Well, I remember we always used to count down from the top. 1, 2, 3.
And that's that one, isn't it, with the vertical blinds? I think that was the one.
Mr. Poirot, Mr. Poirot.
Yes, Miss Lemon, yes.
There's a letter, sir. A letter from Eliza Dunn.
There!
And the wonderful thing that I felt that you did was you managed to capture the peculiarities alongside the lovability. Yeah. And I think that is why people love him.
But I had a wonderful team of actors around me, didn't I? That I was able to play off, and they were able to have their own life and their own worlds.
Good heavens.
Hugh Fraser as Captain Hastings. You think, oh, Hastings, he's a bit of a dunderhead. And you know, maybe he isn't the brightest, but Hugh brought a fantastic intelligence to a man who apparently didn't have much.
Right. Hastings.
And Inspector Japp, Philip Jackson, who is always bested by Poirot.
Right, who's the victim?
And Miss Lemon, Pauline Moran, just brought that beautiful eccentricity to it.
Abduction, addiction, adultery, see also under marriage. Bigamy, see also under marriage. Bombs.
See also under marriage.
I know from the mail I get and from how people react to the series, it's not just me, it's the whole look. It's production values, the props, the locations, and I couldn't have been given a better place to live for the man I played.
There was one other element that played a crucial role in creating the mood of the series. I've come to meet composer Christopher Gunning.
If I just hum, dum, da-dum, 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 they say Poirot.
But you know, David, you know, one of many extraordinary things was that I presented Brian Eastman with 4 different tunes. And he rang up the next day and he said, well, I've listened to all 4 of them and number 4 is my favourite.
Wow.
And I was mighty disappointed because number 1 was mine. Why do you think I put number 1 at the beginning?
Yes.
And I can still remember it, actually.
Right.
It went like...
Yes, I have heard
that. It went something like that. And that was my clear favourite, but Brian didn't even give that a thought. And, of course, he was right and I was wrong.
How did you decide that should be one of your theme tunes for Poirot? What is the process for you?
I did read a script, so I thought about what sort of music would take us back to the 30s a little bit. And I phoned Brian and asked him, he said, no, I'm getting terribly negative reactions to the music, Christopher, and we're going to have to start again. So what I did was to darken it all, and I moved it into G minor, so the alto saxophone could now play it in that register, and the accompaniment could be down here. And immediately it has a sort of gravitas that it didn't have when I was fiddling around up there.
That music, along with many other elements, defines the series. But what made Poirot such a popular character around the world? Where better to find out than visiting the country of his birth? Belgium.
Pity Emily couldn't come. Still, I think she's right. Brussels is a far cry from Isleworth.
Her loss is my gain.
Hercule Poirot is not simply a legend in Agatha Christie's homeland. The Poirot films have been seen in over 100 countries.
Oh, j'espère que ce n'est pas à cause de nous. Ah non, non, pas du tout. Je prépare les choses bien à l'avance.
Over the years, I've received thousands of letters from all around the world. Viewers might know my face, but not all have heard my voice.
Es scheint, Sie haben alles bedacht, Monsieur Doyle, bis auf eines. Hercule Poirot.
I had no idea Poirot would be so big outside Britain. Now I want to find out about his international appeal, and where better to do so than the country of his birth.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board this service to Lille and Brussels. We will be...
One of the aspects that really link us, Poirot and myself, is that both of us are, in a way, outsiders. Although I was born in England, most of my family on my father's side were from Lithuania. I certainly don't look like a typical Englishman. And that was Poirot as well. In all the stories, he's portrayed very vividly, but we know very little about his past. We know that he came to England retired, head of the Brussels police force, but we know very little about when he was a policeman there.
Well, Poirot, how does it feel being back in Brussels again after so many years?
In the eye of my mind, Chief Inspector, I have never left.
Well, here we are. Most beautiful square in the world. Ah, it's fantastic. Look at it. The Grand Square in Brussels. I can actually remember filming here, the chocolate box, and yeah, I played chess in this square. I remember that.
The chocolate box was the only Poirot story that took us back to his past as a police officer in Brussels.
Checkmate.
It's told in flashback, so I had to lose over 20 years with the clever help of makeup and a hairpiece.
I'd like a box that I can fill with chocolates, please.
There's a murder, of course, and Belgian chocolates appear to be the cause of death.
Of course, what we have to remember is that the chocolate might have tasted nice, but you wouldn't have lived very long to savor the aftertaste.
My duties as a junior police officer involved my regular attendance at the court of the coroner.
And you agree?
The death of Paul Derola was treated by all those concerned as a matter of routine.
Where I am now is in the Palace of Justice in Brussels. And of course, Poirot would have been very familiar with this place because this is the High Court. This is the highest court in the land.
Superintendent Boucher, one moment, if you please. Chantalier and myself, we would be very happy to investigate further the Derola case.
His methods of detection are very basic. He's not a forensic detective. He likes clues, of course. Everything is in the clue.
Jean-Louis, inside this envelope are crumbs of chocolate. I want you to tell me by your analysis exactly what they contain and whether or not they contain poison.
He's far more of a psychologist. He's interested in people's minds. When he speaks with you, he always says, I listen to what you say, but I hear what you mean.
For it was you, Madame Derola, who killed your son.
In over 70 stories, Poirot solved many intriguing cases, but there was always one great mystery that eluded him.
The mystery that even I, Hercule Poirot, will never be able to solve. The nature of love.
I get lots of mail and people talking to me about Poirot's sexuality.
Why is everyone so afraid of sex?
Why hasn't he married? Does he fall in love? Where's Poirot's romantic interest?
In Chocolate Box, Poirot found the killer, but lost his heart to his client, Virginie Ménard.
I hope I haven't made things awkward for you, Hercule.
And Poirot really becomes very attached in an emotional way to Virginie.
Perhaps this will say it for me.
She gives to him a little silver brooch.
Virginie, you should not have.
If you'll notice, when I play Poirot as an older man, he always wears there. And that was given to him by his first love. He would love to have been married, but he knows himself. No one could put up with his own weird eccentricities as a person. But in actual fact, although he says that, I believe he knows that he couldn't put up with them. Poirot was a lonely man, but what he does with his life is solving crimes.
You got it wrong, you bloody little frog.
Firstly, I am not a bloody little frog. I am a bloody little Belgian.
Poirot was proud of being a Belgian citizen, but what do the locals think of him? Who better to ask than Belgian crime writer Stan Laurisens?
Well, so how's Brussels? Well, Brussels is wonderful, but I think I have to congratulate you because you won an award, didn't you?
Yeah, I won the
writing award.
Well, I won the Hercule Poirot award.
The Hercule Poirot?
Yeah, which is the award for the best crime novel of the year.
Fantastic. Do you think Poirot is typically Belgian?
He's typically Belgian because he's got all the mannerisms of Belgians, no? First of all, they're short.
Yes.
They're short. They're good looking.
Oh, well, that's very kind. What makes Poirot so endearing?
His warmth. You can't be mad at him.
Do you get that from the page?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I found.
Yeah.
You're speaking of Poirot as though he was a real person.
He is. He is. Who says he's fictional? Because every night, at home, anywhere in the world, there you are. You made him a living person. And that's your fault.
Mon mari me disait, il disait faire Hercule Poirot. Je dis non, c'est bon.
That's why people embrace you in the street, take photographs. Say, hey, here he is, Poirot, look, Poirot.
Even without the moustache, I'm always surprised to be recognized anywhere in the world.
Well, here I am in a police car with police outriders as an escort, and it's quite overwhelming. Apparently, I'm going to meet somebody very important, has to be important for this sort of welcome. Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beautiful building.
In fact, I've been invited to meet the Mayor of Brussels and the Chief of Police. We're going to find out what they think of Belgium's most famous detective.
Hercule Poirot.
Mayor Tillemont.
My sir.
I say to you.
Back home, are you?
Would you have liked Hercule Poirot here now?
Yeah, we need him.
You need him?
Yeah. But with a moustache.
That can be arranged.
That can be arranged.
That can be put in the post.
Can we?
What do the Belgians think of Hercule Poirot?
They were proud because he solved matters the English couldn't solve.
Yes.
And your accent was not too bad.
Thank you.
I wondered...
I'm very nervous meeting you to say... I mean, you could have said it was terrible and we're on television, you know. What can I do? Thank you very, very much, and you've given me such a lovely work. It's a great honour to be here, seriously.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Chris. They take Poirot to their hearts. And, you know, Agatha Christie is widely read here, and Poirot is one of Belgium's sons. When I was studying the character of Poirot, I learned that there was some speculation about where he was born. I think Agatha is actually quite clear where he was born. He was born in Spa in Belgium. However, I'm on my way to a town that has claimed him, in a sense, to be one of its sons.
There's something distinctly odd about the small town of Elizelles, 30 miles west of Brussels. They like to think that Poirot was born here.
There he is.
Local historian Pascal Hyde can even show me a birth certificate to prove their claim.
So,
Look.
Here we go.
Here is the birth certificate.
Extrait de naissance d'Hercule Poirot.
Here you have the name of your father.
Yes.
Jules Louis Poirot.
Oui.
And you have Godlieve van Pré, your mother.
This is wonderful. It is absolutely extraordinary. There is my birth certificate. Born in Elzel on l'Avril the 1st, April Fool's Day.
Some Belgians might dispute the actual place of Poirot's birth, but there is no question about his commitment to his faith.
What's interesting for me is that Agatha Christie makes him, being Belgian, Catholic. So he is a religious man.
There is nothing in the world so damaged that it cannot be repaired by the hand of Almighty God.
He believes that le bon Dieu, the good God, has put him on this earth to rid it of crime while he is still alive and able to do so. So part of Poirot's character is, in doing his job, he's actually serving God.
Agatha Christie's books reveal that Poirot retired from the Belgian police force and that his world was thrown into turmoil at the outbreak of the First World War.
He couldn't have actually fought in the trenches himself because, I mean, he was retired from the Belgian police force and then the war started and then he became a refugee.
Then began my second career. It is reported that I am the most famous detective in England.
Agatha Christie created an outsider that was true to life. His faith gave him his purpose, but I think his humanity and warmth is the secret of the character's success. But of all the crimes he solved, there was one case that would challenge him to breaking point. In the whole of Poirot's career, there was one story above all that seems to have captured the public's imagination.
And if you would be so kind as to book for me a passage tonight on the Orient Express.
I knew that even after 20 years of playing Poirot, this would be one of the most challenging performances of my career.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome back.
Nice
Good
to
see
be
you
back.
again.
Thank you. Murder on the Orient Express was almost, for me, an untouchable. Obviously, because it was such a famous film with Albert Finney and it won Oscars. So I had quite a lot to live up to.
I began researching Murder on the Orient Express by reading the book on the original restored train to Venice. Now, I'm going back to relive Poirot's most dramatic story and meet some old friends.
It's such a pleasure to see you again.
In 2008, I set out to make Murder on the Orient Express, a story about a very brutal murder, and I wanted Poirot to be as faithful to Agatha Christie's novel as possible.
Oh, my goodness me. I'm back home.
Well, welcome back home.
It was an extraordinary experience to have been on the train before I made the film, because I used that in the making of the film. The Murder on the Orient Express, Albert Finney's, was a wonderful film. We had a different take on it. We took it much more seriously. In fact, the actual tone of the book is serious. I think the story has become legendary because to have 12 murderers, judge, jury, and executioners, was an extraordinary invention of hers. In the story, the train becomes stationary because of an avalanche. To be stuck inside this narrow tube made it very claustrophobic. That was the brilliance of her story. So, the guilty 12. Where I am now is where the big summing up took place, and this is where he makes his big reveal that not one person among them was the murderer, but they were all
guilty of putting in the knife.
No, you behave like this and we become just savages in the street. Where juries and executioners, they elect themselves. No, it is medieval. The rule of law, it must be held high. And if it falls, you pick it up and hold it even higher.
He is thrown into deep anguish and thought and prayer as to what should he do. Even though he may sympathize with the crime, is it his right to let them go? Or should he do what he knows his faith would tell him to do? That's the story. But where she set it is so unbelievably brilliant. It was lovely to be on the train and in the carriage that Hercule Poirot slept in.
Filet de bœuf.
And to be able to eat in the restaurant he ate in.
In the 70 films I've played Poirot, Murder on the Orient Express was the one which showed him in a turmoil of conscience we'd never seen before, torn and tormented over what to do about this murder.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
In the end, he chooses to let them go. On the human level, he did the right thing. But as far as his faith is concerned and what it did to him, it really cost.
Poirot understands the frailty of people, their passions, their hopes, and their dreams. It's a characteristic which I think is recognized and admired by viewers the world over. Orient Express was one of my biggest challenges as Poirot. Now, 5 years on, I'm on the set of Dead Man's Folly.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
It's June 2013, and 9 months since I filmed Poirot's death in Curtain. I wanted to end 25 years on a high, not his demise. So we shot the final film out of sequence. When I finish this film, I will have shot every Poirot story that Agatha Christie ever published.
You come on a set like this and you think, well, I don't have to do anything. Good morning. Morning. How are you?
So you've been in the fortune teller tent.
Yes.
Which we saw you go into last night, and then there's a little scene in there, a few cuts around, and then...
I come out to meet the Dutch girl.
86 I'm Mark.
Background action and action!
I think the enduring power of Poirot is obviously centres on David's performance, but it's also careful casting, very good direction, brilliant art direction, excellent locations, and a great deal of thought go in to make it the package that becomes Agatha Christie's Poirot.
Madame, that which you wear on your head, it is a creation most beautiful. Like something from the Royal Ascot, n'est-ce pas?
David is meticulous. He's brought with him an eye of detail. We have never been allowed to let our standards slip because David would pick us up on that.
Oh, it's an honour to work with David again, and it must be an extraordinary experience for him. And for his family, I have to say. I think the big shout-out goes to the family, I've got to say, living with Mr. Poirot for 25 years.
Lady Stubbs, have you seen Lady Stubbs? Have you seen my wife, Lady Stubbs?
Has anyone seen Lady Stubbs?
In some ways, it's a farewell to the character. I don't know. I think we're all kind of anticipating the last day and how emotional that might be.
Agatha Christie's summer home provided the inspiration for Dead Man's Folly. So as a wonderful tribute to Poirot's creator, we have come to Devon, where my final shot will be filmed.
I think it's a lovely way to end the series here. No, I feel pleased for David as well to have shot all of them and to have adapted all the novels, which I know is very important to him.
It's a triumphant day. I won't see it in any other way as well. I won't. It's emotional, of course it's emotional. I won't pretend it's not emotional, but I feel very elated. Happy.
They're filming the very last scene of the very last story of Poirot that will ever be made, with David Suchet playing Poirot.
Et voilà.
It doesn't feel like 25 years. If I look back, it's really my children growing up, my family, It's a quarter of a century of my life. And suddenly it's over.
I think it's the fact that he has applied utter dedication to one role. Most actors do a role, put it down and walk away from it. David has never put it down.
C'est bon. Merci.
515, take 1. I mark.
David's legacy is to have given the world a character that they can never forget. To bring to life someone who's entertained people around the world for 100 years, and to stamp that character into all our imaginations. And that legacy on television will never fade.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap of Poirot after 25 years.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to say to you, thank you for having me. I have enjoyed all the little adventures that I have solved. To you all, au revoir. Merci beaucoup.
I really do look back with great thankfulness to be given that role and have allowed me the privilege of playing him over a period of 25 years. What a gift, and thank you.
Okay, and everyone this way. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Fantastic. And again. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Brilliant. Wonderful. Well done. Thank you.